Good morning. I'm Reverend Jim Wilkins. There are three short scriptures today from three different faiths. First, from Christianity, Acts chapter 17, verses 27 and 28. God is not far from each one of us, for in God we live and move and have our being. And from Confucianism, Analects 7:29. The Master said, "Is goodness indeed so far away? If we really wanted goodness, we should find that it was at our very side." And from Sikhism, Adi Granth, Maj Ashpadi, page 116. Ever is God present with you. Think not God is far. By the Master's teaching, recognize Him within yourself. So ends the readings. Most religions express the thought that God is everywhere and God is always with us. Yet quite often in our busy day-to-day lives, it does not feel like God is with us at all. Part of being human is working through the daily issues that confront us and remaining true to our spiritual beliefs. Many times this feels like a daunting task. What are some examples of the issues in our lives that might seem insurmountable, and we may feel like they may always create undue stress in our lives? One could be family dynamics. Repetitive, destructive behaviors can be very difficult to change. A second one, your work. There might be issues with your job, co-workers, or management. We can feel powerless to improve these situations concerning work. A third one, making sense of politics in our country. A fourth one, dealing with COVID-19. I could go on, but each of us has issues that are stressful, non-productive, or make us feel powerless, and we can't seem to find a way to find a peace of mind around a specific relationship or situation. Spiritually, we may believe the peace and love of God is always with us, but it does not feel like it. I have two premises for this sermon. You have free will. You can think, say, and do anything you choose. And secondly, you always have the power to experience the divine presence of God in your life. From the day we are born, our experiences form our personality. As toddlers in elementary school, middle school, we develop our views of the world and what we need to do and say to be true to ourselves and also fit in with our families, schools, and our group of friends. We can use the example of a baby learning to walk. The baby falls many times. Usually the falls are harmless, but sometimes falls are scary and painful. The baby has begun the life process of having a goal and overcoming obstacles to reach that goal. Almost anything we do in life, we stumble, figure out what went wrong, and try again. Our whole life could be viewed as an analogy of learning to walk. The idea of learning to crawl, walk, and falling many times is easy to visualize. The more complicated, nuanced, emotional situations we encounter throughout our lives and our responses to them and the effect they have on our state of mind is much harder to understand. Many situations play out over an extended period, if not our whole lives. In every situation we encounter, we need to make choices. We might choose to be quiet. We might choose to argue, to act out. We might simply mentally check out. Each of us has the power to make these choices. With the choices we make, we are creating our self-identity and our personality. Just as a baby new to the experience of walking will take many falls, each of us will make many decisions that do not work out the way we planned. Just as a baby learning to walk, we are confronted with situations that as children, teenagers, young adults, and mature adults, we're We're confronted with situations we have no experience with. In the constant flow of new experiences, with success and failure, it can be natural to feel you are alone and on your own to succeed or fail. As a child, you accept your family dynamics as how the world works. You experience success or failure. From walking to getting the toy you want to getting the car you want, you experience success or failure. We can mistakenly judge ourselves harshly when we don't get the outcomes we desire. Our judgments of ourselves can affect our view of ourselves and our decisions throughout our lifetime. The two premises I stated earlier, you have free will, you can think, say, and do anything you choose. And number two, you always have the power to experience the divine presence of God in your life. With every fall, every mistake, every hurtful encounter, it can feel like we are alone in the world to fend for ourselves. Most of my life, an aspect of my personality was a feeling that I could never do enough, a feeling that I was always letting people down. This emotion affected all aspects of my behavior. When I was in my early 30s, two good friends of mine asked me to attend meditation-type workshops. I enjoyed the work and earnestly pursued meditation and energy healing work. In a meditation workshop, I had a vision that was very clear. I was about 4 years old with my family at the Navy base in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad was getting on an aircraft carrier for a 6-month cruise. He knelt to me and said, "I'll be gone for a while, and you are the man of the house." This is a typical statement we have seen in many movies. As a 4-year-old, I took this very seriously. I had 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and a younger brother. My 3 younger siblings were in diapers. I am sure we encountered the typical situations at home that would occur with 6 children from ages of newborn to 7 years old. Now, I know that as a 4-year-old, I took my dad seriously and believed I had the responsibility to be the man of the house. Daily, I felt like I could not do enough to help my mother. An innocent statement by my father, but it stayed with me for many years. Doing spiritual work, meditation, and prayer, I experienced enough success that my faith grew in the process. With faith and effort, the image of my father talking to me became part of my conscious memory. With this memory, I experienced healing and peace. I learned from this experience that divine intuition, universal energy, and healing is mine to claim if I do the work. As an adult, I can understand that a very young boy was confused. It was grace that the memory was revealed to me and that I could use it for my progression. This was a huge weight off my shoulders. Understanding the cause of the unexplained feeling that I could not do enough allows me to pay attention when this emotion surfaces, and it still does. Repeating one of the scriptures today from Sikhism, "Ever is God present with you. Think not God is far. By the Master's teaching, recognize Him within yourself." The meditation work I was doing eventually led me to Arlington Metaphysical Chapel and pursuing being ordained. I have done a fair amount of pastoral counseling and led many meditation workshops. I have worked with many people who have habitual patterns that do not serve them. From experience, I know that if a person can recognize the patterns in their lives that are unproductive, they can learn to consciously understand and modify behavior that does not serve them. How do we identify patterns in our lives? How do we learn to modify these habitual patterns of thinking and being? You've heard the saying, "I couldn't get a word in edgewise." A friend of yours is talking, repeating the same story, and they will not stop long enough for you to respond. They are totally occupied with the problem, the emotion, the hurt, or whatever is happening with them at the time. Just as when people repeat the same story, scientists say 95% of our thoughts are the same day after day. Many of our thoughts follow non-productive habitual patterns. With our constant flow of thoughts, many times, literally, there is not room to get another thought in edgewise. On a muddy dirt road, a car can get stuck in the mud and not be able to move forward. Our non-productive thoughts are like mud. We can get bogged down in our habitual worries, emotions, and regrets. You have the free will to choose your thoughts. To exercise your power, you need to be able to observe your thoughts and choose which ones serve you. Meditation is the tool that allows us to learn to slow down our thoughts and observe what we are thinking and feeling what we are feeling. We can identify those thoughts and emotional patterns that are not helpful to us. With an open mind, we can choose the thoughts that are helpful to us, or we can create new ones. When we learn to silence our minds, we are open to divine wisdom from the universe. My experience of how meditation worked in my life. 1, in the beginning, I would experience periods of silence without thoughts for just a moment. With the consistent meditation practice, the periods of silence became longer. Eventually, the quiet, peaceful state became more of my natural state of mind. In this quiet state of mind, I found my ability to intuit new ideas steadily increased. Referring to my memory of my dad leaving for a 6-month tour. When I was ready, the universe, God, opened my memory to a very specific situation in my life at a time when I was able to use the information. First, I needed to prepare the way. I needed to do the work as an adult to be able to use the information. I learned that I had everything I needed. The faith and power to access my own healing is a gift from the universe. God is always with us. With that gift, when we quiet our minds and pay attention, I learned to allow God to get a thought in edgewise, to slow down my mind and listen. There's a saying, prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening to God. In the silence, the new can arrive. In Conversations with God, Book 3 by Neale Donald Walsch, the point of life is not to get anywhere. It is to notice that you are, and have always been, already there. You are always and forever in the moment of pure creation. The point of life is therefore to create who and what you are, and then to experience that. End of quote. Create who and what you are. We can observe the thoughts, the emotions that do not serve us. We can accept them as part of what makes us who we are. With this knowledge and acceptance, we can make choices that serve us. We all have occurrences in our lives that shape our views. Some were formed before we could talk. Memories, emotions that are nonverbal can be difficult to identify and work with. God knows how to work with them. We will make many choices that serve us well, and we will make choices that don't serve us. Our power is in our ability to reflect on our choices and modify them in the future. Blessings.